Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. So today, we are basically stepping into the clinic to perform a comprehensive global health check on our very own home. We're going to examine the shifting symptoms of the Earth, looking directly at the data and the hard science to understand exactly what is happening to the world around us.
Okay, let's dive into this. Our planet is currently undergoing changes at a pace we have quite literally never seen before. We're witnessing a massive, rapid escalation on multiple fronts. Global temperatures are steadily rising, massive ancient glaciers are just melting away, and instances of extreme weather are suddenly spiking all over the map. The baseline of what we've always considered normal is just shifting right beneath our feet.
So the big question staring us right in the face is this. What exactly is causing these rapid, dramatic changes to our environment? And perhaps even more importantly for you and me, what does this ultimately mean for our collective future?
To figure all that out and find the cure, here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with Part 1, our planet's changing pulse. Then move to Part 2, the mechanics of warming. After that, Part 3 covers rising seas and extreme weather. Part 4 looks at the impact on life and health. And finally, Part 5, building a sustainable future. Let's get right to it.
Section 1. Our planet's changing pulse. Defining the shift.
When we use the term climate change, what we're specifically referring to are the long-term changes in the Earth's temperature and its broader weather patterns. Now, it's really important to note that changes in the climate absolutely can and do occur naturally over vast periods of time, right? However, the defining characteristic of the shift we're seeing right now is that human activities have accelerated this process at an absolutely unprecedented rate. It's really the sheer speed of the change that is truly remarkable here.
Section 2. The mechanics of warming, diagnosing the underlying cause.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how it breaks down the natural greenhouse effect versus the dangerous overheating we see today. We all know the natural greenhouse effect is actually what makes Earth habitable in the first place. It traps just enough solar energy to sustain life. But human activity has completely overloaded the system. By pumping excess greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, we've effectively turned a breathable, cozy blanket into a suffocating one, trapping heat that desperately needs to escape and causing the whole planet to actively overheat. If we look back historically, our climate experienced slow, natural variations. But the late 18th century really marked a tipping point. The Industrial Revolution triggered the massive burning of fossil fuels like coal and oil. And today, that baseline is compounded by heavy industry, a huge expansion in the number of vehicles on the road, and widespread deforestation, which is essentially systematically removing the very trees tasked with absorbing these emissions. Which brings us to this staggering figure: billions. Just let that sink in for a second. Because of human activity, we are now releasing roughly 40 billion tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere every single year. To put that into perspective, it's the equivalent weight of about 10,000 Empire State Buildings made entirely of gas, continually thickening that heat-trapping blanket around our planet. Section 3. Rising seas and extreme weather. The global symptoms. As those greenhouse gases relentlessly increase, the Earth's average temperature just continues to climb. We're aggressively shifting away from normal temperatures, that historical baseline that maintained safe, stable global ecosystems for millennia. Instead, scientists are now actively observing record-breaking heat as the current global reality across so many regions of the world. The baseline has just fundamentally shifted.
And this record-breaking heat sets off a really devastating chain reaction. As global temperatures surge, our massive polar ice sheets and ancient glaciers start destabilizing and melting. The resulting meltwater pours directly into our oceans, driving up sea levels. And this is no longer some distant geographic anomaly, right? It's a creeping, direct threat to global coastal infrastructure, cities, and incredibly fragile ecosystems.
But hey, it doesn't just stop at the coastlines. A warmer atmosphere actually holds more energy and more moisture, leading to a highly volatile list of interconnected consequences. We're seeing a marked increase in the intensity of massive storms and sudden, devastating floods. On the flip side of that coin, shifting weather patterns are creating brutal, prolonged droughts, which turn vulnerable landscapes into absolute tinderboxes for catastrophic wildfires. These aren't isolated incidents anymore. These extreme weather events disrupt and endanger millions of lives globally every single year.
Section 4. Impact on life and health. The personal stakes. First off, we have to recognize that the natural world is really struggling here. Animals and plants are facing shifting climates and rapidly altering ecosystems. The real problem is the speed of the change. The environments they've relied on for thousands of years are transforming much, much faster than the slow process of biological evolution can keep up with, and that's putting incredible stress on wildlife globally.
And this brilliantly illustrates how shifting weather patterns directly threaten human food and water security worldwide. These environmental shifts present an immediate threat to our most basic needs. Erratic weather and prolonged droughts lead directly to declining agricultural and crop production. Simultaneously, those changing rain patterns threaten essential freshwater supplies globally. It is literally a direct pipeline from a warming planet to immense global resource scarcity.
Furthermore, climate change is a direct physiological threat to you and me. Just look at these compounding health risks. Rising temperatures don't just make us sweaty and uncomfortable, they lead to dangerous and sometimes fatal heat-related illnesses. Combine that with the increase in air pollution tied to these exact same human activities, and we're seeing a huge spike in severe respiratory diseases. It's a fundamental threat to the very air we breathe and our overall physical health.
Section 5. Building a Sustainable Future. Prescribing the Cure. Okay, let's take a collective breath here. Because while the diagnosis we've just walked through is definitely severe, it is absolutely not a life sentence. Yes, it's clear that human activities accelerated this climate change. But the incredibly empowering flip side of that fact is that we, as humans, also possess the agency, the ingenuity, and the power to slow it down. We literally have our hands on the steering wheel here.
We have tangible, actionable solutions at our disposal right now to create a sustainable future. We can rapidly transition to renewable energy sources like solar and wind. We can embrace cleaner, electrified transportation. We can actively protect and restore our vital forests, which basically act as the lungs of the earth. And we can aggressively commit to reducing pollution across all sectors of industry. The cure is known. It just requires us to apply it.
Ultimately, it all comes down to action. The choices we make today will shape the future of our planet. Every watt of energy we choose to use, every policy we support, and every collective action we take actively decides exactly what kind of world we're going to inhabit. By working together, we truly can protect the Earth.
So, I want to leave you with this final, essential question to think about after this explainer ends. Knowing what we know now about the changing pulse of our planet, what role will you play in protecting Earth for the generations to come? Thank you so much for joining me today, and keep learning.